Okay, so the Admiral asked us to check our library computer for more information, so...
All sensors are clear, Captain.
Right, that's the wrong button. Let's get some information about this place. Nova Atar.
Nova Atar,
Atar.
a Federation system whose third planet, Nova Atar 3, is the home of the Smithsonian Annex for this sector of the galaxy. Nova Atar is renowned for its rich collection of artifacts.
Okay, sounds pretty straightforward. And Saransi?
Saransi, a large influential extended family among several controlling Lockian. Cross-reference entry, Lockian.
Okay, Luckian.
Lockian. Governed by large extended families, the inhabitants of this world escaped a dying planet several generations ago to relocate to Lockian. After a troubled period of re-establishment of their culture and industrial base, the Lockians recently petitioned for admittance into the Federation.
Seems all fairly straightforward. Let's head there. Set a course for Nova Atar. Warp, whatever.
We've arrived at Nova Atar, Captain.
That was quick.
Bring us into standard orbit, Mr. Scott.
Aye, Captain.
Cool. Yeah, I'm sure this will be a milk run. What could possibly go wrong? Alright, Spock.
We are at Nova Atar.
Okay. Uhura, hail them, I guess.
Curator Brezhnev bids you to beam down at your pleasure.
Very well.
Mr. Scott, Mr. Chekhov, come with me. Mr. Spock, you have the car.
Interesting. We're bringing Chekhov and Scotty. Oh man, without Spock, we're going to be so fucked. No, Scotty's competent though.
Captain Kirk, good to meet you. I am Boris Brezhnev, curator of the museum. Everyone is buzzing about visitors from the Enterprise. A real feather in my cap.
Hey Chekhov, he's trying to upstage you.
The pleasure is ours, sir. This is my chief engineer, Mr. Scott, and Ensign Chekhov, our navigator.
Jim, he's the other way. You're facing away from him while you're talking to him.
Most pleased to meet you both. Chekhov, a fine name. I'm certain you will be interested in sampling the Kazakhstanian cognac, distilled and blended by my family. In fact, I will later show you my most prized possession, a bottle of our finest vintage, aged 40 years from our very first pressing.
They're actually they're putting the W in, like they're putting the accent into the yeah.
But isn't cognac French?
Originally, Mr. Scott. But before my ancestors came to settle this planet, they went to Cognac and purchased cuttings, brought them here, and made enhancements. You could say we reinvented Cognac. I do not wish to be rude, but you gentlemen are a bit early, and I must see to making certain the cleaning crews are finished working. Please, feel free to look about a bit. I will page you later, and maybe you will join me in a small toast before the ceremonies? Yes?
It would be our pleasure, curator.
Okay. Yeah, Chekhov's not impressed with someone else claiming that they invented something that wasn't.
I told you we invented it.
Yeah.
Maybe we were a little hard on you, laddie.
Never doubted you for a second, Mr. Chekhov. Now let's take advantage of this time and look around.
Yeah, it's not like you exaggerated in the past, is it? Okay, so we have no equipment. We're not allowed to bring any electronic equipment, so that's everything that we have. So let's just look around then.
The plaque reads, an old ground-based phaser cannon model B-17, the real equalizer, rescued from a Federation scrapyard, probably based on the frontier near Nelapur. This phaser cannon no longer possesses any of its focusing or targeting equipment. The large capacitors in the base allowed a variety of power sources to be used to energize the cannon and gave the real equalizer considerable flexibility in use.
There's no focusing on target equipment, but other than that, it's fully operational. That seems unwise.
Lights cascade continually above the surface of this device. Plaques on each side read, the Vandecourt Aurora generator was donated to this museum by Sir William Loudon. Originally, a university experiment designed to test broadcast power as both a containment system and photostimulation for possible use in a propulsion system, the unit was presented as a gift to Loudon, who liked the way it looked and had recently donated a significant sum to the university. The Klingon console looks operational, but without a ship attached, it's hard to tell.
That's
Written on the plaque, this is a control console from a Klingon warbird, the Klarg, which was salvaged from the battle wreckage near Crimmins 8.
Think you could make that work, Mr. Scott?
Of course, Captain. But it's not like I'll ever have to.
Oh yeah, we'll see. It's quite an eclectic mix of different toys these people have.
The plaque reads, the Niven, non-integrated Vulcan electronumerator, was one of the earliest versions of a Vulcan computer. Some of the components were found to only function correctly at high temperatures. Since the focus in those early days was on computational effectiveness and not user-friendliness, the operator could not stand near the Niven during its operation. Input to the machine was cabled in from a separate device. Hence, it was a non-integrated computer.
Question: why would they include the word Vulcan in one of the first computers they developed? We didn't call the Enigma machine after name the Enigma machine after humans. Anyway, what do you think of all this, Scotty? All this machinery?
You know, this is a fine place, Captain. We'll have to come here for shore leave more often.
He hasn't even had a taste of the booze yet. Chekhov?
Maybe they'll display a piece of the Enterprise here someday, Captain.
Maybe they will, Mr. Chekhov.
They'd better not. Taking a piece out of that grand lady would be like cutting the head from the statue of the Antares maiden and putting that on display.
Don't worry, Scotty. Yeah.
Interesting analogy, Mr. Scott. But you have to admit that someday even the Enterprise will be put into dry dock.
Nope.
He will not.
She will not.
I think we'll agree with Mr. Scott on this one, don't you think, Mr. Chekhov?
Yes, Captain.
Although he is being really quite unrealistic about this. Is this a door? Yes. Oh, look at that. It's an ancient spacesuit.
This EVA suit was worn by Ivan Petrovsky, a late 21st century Terran astronaut during the famous Commonwealth mission. Petrovsky used this suit to dock with the damaged spacecraft SS Commonwealth and saved the vessel from certain destruction in orbit around Mars.
Petrovsky? Isn't that a Russian name?
I don't think so, Mr. Chekhov.
I sincerely doubt it, laddie.
Really? I would have sworn it was Russian.
Sounds Russian to me. Maybe they did invent everything.
The plaque on the old machine reads, an early experimental transporter.
Oh.
The Murnane 8 was from a time before transporters were safe for travel by living beings. Constructed to be a frequently modified testbed, the Murnane 8 had only a small loading bay. The destination controls were also still in testing, making the use of this transporter as much art as science.
Wait a minute. You couldn't test where it was going? That's incredibly dangerous. You could transport something inside someone's body. Okay, is this a separate object?
The plaque on the old machine reads...
No, it's not. See, sometimes two separate objects are two separate objects, and sometimes they're not.
Hulking consoles ring the room, making the raised pedestal stand out even more. The plaque reads, one of the most widely used and most stable designs ever. The Umber Hubble Mark 84 has been used in far more ships than any other model.
Oh, I guess she's not going to finish. Created originally for the Deacon-class cruiser, the Umber Hubble was quickly adopted to a wide variety of ships. Okay. Oh, Scotty's having a go?
Captain Kirk, I trained on one of these. It's solid as a rock and twice as dependable.
How dependable is a rock?
Remind me after the ceremony. I'll talk to the curator about letting you look this one over.
Thank you, Captain. I'd dearly love to put it through its paces.
Well, if it's standard testing equipment, you could probably get his hands on one at Starfleet Academy. It's not really that special, is it? Ooh, look at that. This looks like a Chimera crystal.
This display is all glistening angles of crystal, written on the plaque, an early example of the crystalline computers developed by the Lantoids of Tuner 9. Supposedly impossible to access by non-Lantoid life forms, The computer works on a combination of harmonics and light transmission. The Lantoids make physical contact with the computer to operate it. It is said that listening to a Lantoid operate the computer is like listening to a complex musical score played on delicate chimes. The Lantoids view programming as an art form.
Well, in a way it is.
The plaque reads, "The Dunkelberger Automated Worker Mark 12 was a successful entry in the early days of automated labor.
Dunkelberger.
The Mark 12 was designed to function as a cargo helper, allowing small manufacturers to cheaply compete against large corporations. Due to their small size, reliability, and obedience, these robots were often treated like pets and given names that were incorporated into their response systems. This particular version was called Barney."
So it was at this point that my mic stopped recording, and I didn't notice until after I was done. So I'm going to be trying some post-commentary for the next 2 or 3 episodes. So I hope that works out. So we wander about for a little bit and find our way into this room where there are a couple of guards who are weirdly defensive.
We're just guards, sir. We don't know anything. We wouldn't lie to you.
Captain Kirk and party, please report to the curator's office, please. Captain Kirk and party, please report to the curator's office.
And then we're called to the curator's office for a drink.
I hope you enjoyed your tour, gentlemen. Please join me. Would you mind if the first toast with the Kazakhstanian was to the Enterprise?
Curator, why isn't that Brezhnev cognac?
For heaven's sakes, Chekhov, don't interrupt a man on the verge of toasting the best ship in the fleet with the finest cognac on this side of the galaxy.
Chekhov should know better than to stand between Scotty and his great two loves in the universe.
My apologies.
Booze and the Enterprise.
Questions later, then. The toast. Here's to the Starship Enterprise.
Red alert.
What could this be?
A conspiracy, if you ask me, Captain.
A conspiracy of sobriety.
Let me pull this up on screen.
Ah, not in the face.
They've destroyed my camera. Well, let's see how they deal with our other security systems.
Looks like they dealt with them pretty well. At first I wonder if he's dead.
You get no response.
Wish Bones were here. He's out, but I can't tell you how bad it is.
Chekhov has some medical training, at least based on a scene in Star Trek Generations.
He's unconscious, Captain.
Thanks, Mr. Chekhov. I was just thinking how useless it would have been for Dr. McCoy to have come with us.
He's a navigator, not a doctor.
I do not know what we should do next, Captain. Maybe I can wring some information out of that security panel.
Proceed with a level 1 ringing, Mr. Scott.
Not much of a trap, really. Fixed it up with a wee change of wiring. I've checked the system, Captain. Whoever sabotaged it did a fine job. All of the modules of the security system were cut off from each other when the curator tried to trigger the defenses. And I do not think I can repair from here.
I appreciate the fact here that James Doohan refuses to be spoken to in this manner by the scriptwriter.
I wish we had more information. We don't know who they are, what they want, or how long we have to stop them.
But other than that, we're solid.
This is helpful. There's a button under the edge of the desk when the curator wants to open the door.
So we have a way out, but I decided to take a look around before moving on.
An old suit of armor, but with a strong framework added inside to avoid any accidents. It's holding a large metal lance in its right gauntlet.
That sounds like a brilliant inventory item. Let's have it.
The large lance shows some wear.
So in the spirit of adventure games, I start picking up everything I can see.
The decanter is nearly full.
Wouldn't it be strange if, in the episode itself, the characters just started grabbing every item they could see and carrying them around with them in some unseen pocket?
This is a very expensive silver tray.
Captain, I don't know what we could possibly use these for.
Mr. Scott, it's alcohol. Have you been replaced by an alien?
Captain, I found the floor plans for that room in here. The room used to house a small aquarium. Whoever's in there probably slid the phasers up a drain under an access panel. That's why the security system did not take notice.
At least it's too small for them to crawl out.
Aye, but it's close to a main drain, which is big enough. With the phasers they've got, I'd say they could tunnel out in about 2 hours.
Won't the Enterprise detect the phaser fire?
Not with that force field sitting above the museum.
And we can't shut that off since the security system modules aren't on speaking terms.
Aye, Captain. They've thought of everything.
We'll see, Mr. Scott.
Oh look, there's another item we haven't stolen yet. Let's get it.
I feel rather bad about this, Captain.
I do too, Scotty, but it's always surprising what you need in an emergency.
Deploy the emergency intoxicant. Look, there's something underneath the bottle.
The note on the paper reads, Brezhnev, VVSOP 2123.
Great password security here. So after a fair bit of random experimentation...
Mr. Chekhov, see if you can wedge that knight under the door.
The game wouldn't let us leave because the door would close after us if we did, so...
Yes, Captain.
Naturally, we have to shove this under the door. And look how strong Chekhov is. Wow.
There, that should hold the door open.
Onward to a whole new room of inventory items to pillage.
I've looked this beastie over, and the only things we might be able to use are the capacitors. I've taken them out. They'll soak up a wee bit of power before releasing it. This machine is putting out a fair amount of power.
A convenient way to charge our capacitors here.
The capacitor should charge very quickly.
Well, it's not like anyone's likely to be using this monstrosity soon, so I pulled out the only things we might be able to use. It's not much, only some heat-resistant wiring and a cable.
So, as you might have gathered, we're going to need to acquire a bunch of different hardware to solve the problem here. But there's another room to explore first.
Security lockdown is in effect. Please enter access code
000. Destruct 0.
Incorrect access code.